Hi everyone, so details of the fans forum has been released. Going to run you through it. You know, a lot of fans want to have their say when they're at the forum, and we're going to look at things like safe standing, ticketing, road closures at games, away fans locations, increasing the capacity, and so on in today's video. So it's where the fans go to meet members of the club and get some answers. So, you know, the fans forum was held, it was about 10 days ago now, wasn't it? So staff forum included the people, as I've touched upon, charge of ticketing, safety, security, facilities, marketing. A couple of big profile names there, Lee Marshall and Lee Charney. Obviously, we know who Lee Charney is, of course. And Mark, who's actually part of our Facebook team, he was not present. He's actually one of the fans forum as well. But Mark, where were you? But not a worry, Mark. We'll cover this in today's video, so don't worry. Now, the request, we'll begin with the request for the fans forum to be run on a match day. That was the idea for that, a bit similar to like Arsenal do, was rejected due to senior members operational on a match day. But the fans who were on the panel, I think it was 12 of them that were there at the top of my head, have requested more frequent meetings, and that is now penciled in because, let's be honest, this is a long time coming in Newcastle. The club itself do not do enough for the fans forum. There has to be more of them. Our voice needs to be heard inside the club. It's all well talking about on social media, it's all well making videos up like this, but the voice needs to be spoken inside the club. Now, ticketing. Now, the club are looking at protecting avenues such as protecting the away fans' points if a circumstance was to change. So, for example, if you lost your job, lost your employment, so if you've got, say, 20 loyalty points on there, and you've lost your role of employment, you might lose your season tickets because of that, because of financial circumstances. So the club have looked at that. A new system will be coming to the website very shortly. It's called SeatGeek, and that's going to provide a better purchase experience for fans. So fans can also check their status, the loyalty points, and the payment. And I think that's a good thing, because when you're trying to buy an away ticket, it's a right faff online. It won't recognise it and all sorts. So I just go to the box office and do away matches. It's just a right carry on. Don't like it. It's not user friendly, so that's a good thing. Coming off that, about safe standing. The club have not changed their stance. We recently obviously done a video on this very recently about safe standing. Everybody was in favour for it. The club is a no at the time being. However, the forum who were there present did ask for the club to back a petition for safe standing in Parliament, which the club did share a couple of posts on their Facebook and Twitter post backing that as well. So at the moment, no safe standing, and there's no present plans to change that. Road closures at games. Now, before I read this out, when I go to a game, or anybody who go to games, you still see cars driving past 20 minutes before kick-off, and the road at the Strawberry Place is ram-packed. For me, that has to stop. That was brought up, and the club are going to have plans to meet the council towards the end of the season about that. That has to improve safety as well as the driver. There could be a terrorist attack. Anything could happen. So that has to be looked into, because that is poor at the moment. They did say that the club, were happy with the closures of the Strawberry Place area after the match, but beforehand, for me, that has to improve. Now, the away fans location, again, we've covered this quite a few times on the channel. There's going to be no change, as we know, of the location for the plans to move the away fans. The Premier League won't be challenging it. This is due to the council and the club's fear of safety of other fans leaving the ground as well. So that's been backed by the local council and local authorities as well. The Premier League won't be challenging that, so there's going to be no change of where the away fans are located. Obviously, we know Newcastle have got a special dispensation from the Premier League with Manchester United about keeping the away fans, because away fans are meant to be sat by or stood next to pitch side, but we have that special dispensation because there's fears of safety. Now, there was talk about increasing the capacity at St James's as well. Now, there is no change. The club won't be planning to increase the stadium capacity, in particular the Gallagher end. Now, despite Tullant, the company who's doing all the redevelopment area around that, behind the Gallagher, and that's where I work, literally just behind the Gallagher in that green glass building, for you who obviously may not know that. A lot of studio flats going up around the area, but they were saying, Tullant was saying that behind the Gallagher, it is possible to have an extra 10,000 seats to be added in amongst the Gallagher. However, the club have turned around saying extending the Gallagher wouldn't actually make sense commercially, and it will be unchanged for the short and medium term. They went on to say that the demand for the tickets is high for big games, but it tails off for the least fancy games. So they brought up the example of the West Brom game just recently, where West Brom couldn't fill their away allocation and they returned their tickets, and then the demand for those spare tickets wasn't very high for that. So the opportunities aren't massive in great demand. That's what they said about that as well. Coming on to fixtures, we've had Newcastle being on TV moved, I think it's something crazy like half the games in the Premier League so far this season. Now, the club would normally accept requests from TV companies for a change of date/time. The only time it wouldn't would normally be like a safety issue or concern. The club knew the fact that changing the date for the Everton game would impact, fans from buying tickets/buying accommodation, travel, etc. already paid for. The club believe that the Premier League need to work harder at this because fans, at the end of the day, fans are suffering and it is out of order. And for Newcastle to give everybody, I believe it was a £5 voucher. I mean, I was lucky I had the day off, and obviously I drive, so I drove the other two, like Kyle and Will, down there with us. But overall, given the £5 voucher, it's not enough. It should be at least put a zero on the end of that for me. So that needs to be looked at, because the club can turn around and say no about that fixture. They don't have to say yes, I know they're pocketing money, and quite a big chunk of it as well. Now, about Rafa Benitez, there is plans to increase his contract. Obviously, we know now he's only just got over a year left on his deals. We all know that the discussions are ongoing. Rafa's already said that in his press conference, that the meeting and his representatives are meeting again the club this week, and they might have already happened this week by now. Transfers will be discussed privately. The forum did ask about that, but that'll be discussed privately. Rafa has targets as well. Leaves me nicely on to talking about transfers. The recruitment is continuing all year round against the club, and it doesn't stop non-stop. Relegation did affect Newcastle's position this year, buying big and competing with the likes of fellow promotions teams Brighton and Huddersfield. So the question was asked in the forum, basically, why aren't Newcastle competing with the likes of these clubs? What is it? What's it down to? And the club's representatives who were there present turned around and said that the wage bill was massive in the Championship, and that is correct, because Newcastle were in the top 10 in the whole of the UK despite being in the Championship, because we were getting lower end Premier League players on massive wages as well. However, speaking of some positive news, that Martin Dubravka is in his loan deal, that the club do have an option to buy that, and you would expect, wouldn't you, Martin Dubravka to sign. I am expecting that to happen. However, Kennedy, there is no option in there to buy him, so that will have to be renegotiated with Chelsea, whether it's another loan spell or a buy. We'll want it to stay. He's been absolutely fantastic and he's shown great attitude. He hasn't got himself into trouble, fingers crossed, and would like them to have him again next year. Whether that's another loan deal, depend on Chelsea, who Chelsea's manager is. If Antonio Conte, so there's several things, but that is one player that would definitely want. Now, there's also questions asked about where Newcastle getting the money coming in, the commercial side of Newcastle, what they're doing. And the club said that looks like they work hard to get revenue in the club, and also other things like you might have seen, well, you would know this, that there's been a lot of rugby games recently held at St James's Park, which brings in revenue for the club, and also there's upcoming concerts like the likes of Ed Sheeran, which is, again, that'll help finance Newcastle, because they'll take a percentage of cut from the shops being open inside the ground and ticket sales, etc., and merchandise maybe. But investment is also kept on improving the pitch as well, keep it in perfect condition, and also you might have seen new electronic billboards and the LCD screen which is on there. Just speaking of that as well, they were asked about that. Do you know the big massive TV which you can see where all the away fans and the kids sit in the Leazers end? Sorry, if you're not a kid, I apologise. That's where I call the kids section. Next to the away fans, you can look and see like a replay, whereas people in the Gallagher don't have the option. The East Stand can't really see that screen. So the question was asked, would they put another massive screen up at the moment? And the answer was no. Where are you going to put that, to be fair? So that is possibly one maybe question. Asked about the club, are they still up for sale? And yeah, the club did say it's still up for sale. In those notes, that were on the... You can see all of these notes, by the way, on nufc.co.uk. Not one word mentioned of Mike Ashley and all of that. Now, his name would have definitely been brought up. Whether they haven't chose not to include Mike Ashley in any of that talk remains to be seen. But that's what the fans forum have said. I know it's pretty boring video, but it's really important as fans. We know what's going on. Have the club answered the best they can? Are they being told what to say? Have they expressed the true feelings? It can go on and on and on. Who knows what will happen? But I thought I'll put that video out there. It's important for us as fans to know that the club responded, and there has to be more of these. There's got to be more of these. There's got to be more communication in my eyes as well. All right, let us know what you think of some of what the club have said to the board. Not to the board, sorry, the club have said to the fans forum who were on there chatting away as well to them. Cheers. Says bye-bye.